Buy these for 30 or 40 bucks online or build them yourself for $10. I think that's a no-brainer. Hey everyone, it's Vic from Victory Woodworks. Today I'm going to show you how to make a stylish and functional plant stand out of select pine, 2 different ways. This project is perfect for beginners, can be completed with just a few basic power tools, and will make your wife happy. By the way, it costs less than 10 bucks. Before we get started on today's project, I want to remind you to always prioritize shop safety. When working with power tools, it's important to wear eye and ear protection. This will keep your eyes safe from flying debris and ears safe from loud noises that can damage your ears. So before you start your next project, make sure you have the proper eye and ear protection. Your safety should always come first. I will be using the miter saw to make all the cuts. You can also do this with a circular saw, a jigsaw, or if you're truly hardcore, a handsaw. I will be cutting lumber for 2 versions of the plant stand. The first one is using 1x3 stock, and the second is using 2x2 stock. I'm cutting the legs to 17 inches and the cross pieces to 12.5 inches. Your overall dimensions might vary depending on the size of your pot. In my case, the pot is 12 inches in diameter and is 14 inches tall. I added 3 inches to the overall height to lift the plant off the floor, but not too high. I don't want it falling over. The first step is to cut the boards to the required lengths using the miter saw. That's it. You got your 6 pieces cut. That's all you're going to need for this particular plant stand for the 1x3. I'm also going to cut the 2x2 version. Now on these square pieces, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chamfer all the sides just to make it look a little bit more fancy. Reset my my stop here so I can make the little chamfer cuts for these other pieces. Okay, I've reset my stop here right on the point. We're just going to cut another 30-degree angle just on the one side of each of these square legs. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually make this like this. We're going to cut half in here, half in here, and then when we place them together, it'll be that sort of joint. First, let's mark the center line of the boards. Next, from the center line of the board, I'm marking the intersecting board width off the center. So basically, it sets right on top. Set your other board on top to check the alignment of your marks. Those of you who've never used a trenching feature, that's this little guy back here. What it does, it's got a screw in it that butts up against this little shelf, and when it's injected, it stops your saw from going all the way down. So by adjusting this screw here, let's get the elbow cam out of the way, you'll be able to see the height of the saw raise or lower depending on which way you turn it. Using the trenching feature of my saw, I set the miter saw to the depth of half the laps, which in this case is half of 1 1/4 or 2.5 inches, depending on which one you are cutting. Now, cut out the marked area. What we're also going to do is we're going to slowly creep up to that line. Test the fit of the half lap and adjust the cut as required to make them fit snugly together. Okay, now let's see how we did on this. So, putting it on. That's a nice fit. Got both of our cross pieces cut and fitted. Now what we're going to do is start with the assembly process. Next, I'm going to join the legs and the cross pieces using dowels. The next power tool will be the drill. I'm using it to drill the holes for the dowels. The next step in our process is to take the cross pieces and drill in dowel holes, and then take the legs and drill in corresponding dowel holes here. The way we can do that, well, there's actually several ways you can do that. So I went to Home Depot and bought one of these doweling kits. Cost about $7. Comes with dowels, a drill, a little stop collar, and a couple points. So what you would do with that is you would mark off exactly where you want the holes, drill with the stop collar set to the depth you'd like, stick in the point, and then press it up against where you'd like the corresponding hole to be. That's one way of doing it. The way I would prefer to do it is to, again, mark, drill your holes here in this piece, make sure you understand what the measurements are, take the centering jig, put it on, and center it on the piece, and then drill your corresponding holes for the cross pieces right here. That's the method we're going to try. So stick with me. Because this self-centering jig actually has, and I'm not sure you can see it again, let me channel my interventor here. If you can see, it's got these little marks over here. Let's see if we can put that in front here so you can see it. So we can line that up with our alignment marks on the board and make sure that our corresponding dowel holes are in the right spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure out where we need to have the dowel holes in the end of our cross pieces. So this piece of this cross piece is actually 2.5 inches wide. I think about a 1/2 inch from either end would be the perfect place to put them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it out and just put a little mark here on that 3/4 mark. Okay, now that we have those, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just transfer the marks to the sides. Okay, now that we have our 4-inch line here, what we're going to do is we're going to butt up our cross piece right next to it, and we're going to just transfer the lines right across. Now, I'm not sure if I got an elbow cam in here or not, but we'll see. And then one there. And one there. So now we have our line for where we want the dowels. We put this up, we can see perfectly aligns with the other marks we've made. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer it to the other 3 legs and to the other cross piece. Alright, so the dowel pins we're going to be using are 5/16 dowels. They happen to be 1.5 inches long. So we have to be careful because this board is 3/4 of an inch. So I don't want to go in more than a 1/2 inch. So what we're going to do first is we're going to use a centering jig, the dowel centering jig, and then set our drill bit so that it only goes in 1/2 inch. This way you don't worry about blowing out. And what we'll do is, since this is much thicker, depth-wise, we will set this other side at just over 1 inch. So when the dowels are in, 1/2 inch into the leg, inch or so into the cross piece, we should be fine with no blowouts. So let's do the legs first. Self-centering jig right on top of our mark lines right here with the little mark inside the doweling jig right there. I don't know if you can see that. Well, actually maybe from this point of view. There you go. So we're going to line that up. First one lined up, and we're going to be drilling. This is pushed up all the way. We want to make sure that we're referencing this black part of the jig, and we're all set. Okay, now let's drill that. Let's drill that first hole. Okay. Let's loosen that up. See how we did. Looks good. Hole seems to fit pretty well. Okay, not very deep, again, because of that brad point. Let's do the second one and see how that goes. We have our 2 holes right on the money. All right, let's do that for the other 3 pieces, and then we'll do the cross pieces. I believe the drill bit is also crooked because it's wobbling. So I think that the general kit is not a good deal. I'm going to do one more and then we're going to switch out. Yeah, a little bit loose now because that thing's wobbling. All right, let me switch out drill bits. Okay, so what we've done is we switched out the drill bit that's not this brad point bit, and it doesn't wobble. So what we're going to do is we're going to try our next piece, and we may have to re-drill those a little bit, and we'll see. I have all of our dowel holes drilled and all of our pieces, and you're saying to yourself, you know, Vic, that didn't look that easy. Well, it wasn't hard, but there is an easier way. In the second segment of our video here, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do it with the most hated tool on the internet, which is the Festool Domino. And I think you're going to see that it's going to be a whole lot easier, but you really don't need to buy the Domino to do what I just did. You saw. Don't buy these, but you don't need to buy the Domino. Get yourself one of these and a good drill bit, and you know, for 40 bucks or something like that, you can do the same thing for your pieces. Next step in our process, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little round over and just round over some of the edges to make it a little smoother to the touch. I'm not going to round over the places where we interlock, and I'm not going to, the rest is just going to go, just these pieces. The rest should stay just rounded over. The rest will stay square. I may go around the edge here. I'll have to decide as I get there. So next step, we got our sanding rig set up. We're going to be sanding this pine down to, we got 120 first, 180, and then 220, which should be more than enough. If you guys watched the last video, you saw that we built this little sandpaper jig. And you know what? It won't fit this one, that's not 5 holes. All right, let me see if I can find a 120 that's 5 holes. All right, a little Merca. Put that down. Grab your sander. Line up the hole. There we go. Everything lines up nicely. All right, gonna put on my headset and gonna get the sanding over here. The next step in this process is to apply some finish before we glue everything up. So since this is pine, I'm going to use some pre-stained wood conditioner, you know, from Varathane. Seems to work. And also from Varathane, the boss lady picked out some gun stock color. So what I'm going to do is put this on first, get it on the wood, let it soak in, let it dry. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to stain over it with the little gun stock. So you may or may not remember we made this epoxy finishing table thingy a couple episodes back. So we're going to use this to finish off our pieces of our lumber here for our plant stand. This way, you know, any spills and things are going to be contained inside. We don't have to worry about, you know, covering anything up. So Varathane, the directions are basically wipe it on, cross the grain, wait at least 30 minutes before you put on stain. So we're going to do exactly that. So we're going to wait that 30 minutes and just then stain it up. Now, there's a third item in the old safety chain there of safety glasses, hearing protection, or safety gloves. Because the old adage, if it's on you, it's in you, definitely applies. These are not necessarily chemicals you want on your hands or swallow or drink or anything along those lines. So let's do that. Since we're going to be picking these up, it may make sense to, like I said, have gloves on. So as we can see here, our pieces have actually dried overnight. They're actually pretty nice. Finish is nice on them so far. We're going to finish these off with a little urethane afterwards, but first what we're going to do is we're going to glue in the cross pieces into the legs. We're going to do that on two sides each. So why don't we start with that? We got our glue. This is a good old Type Bond 2, which is water resistant, not waterproof, but that should be good enough. I mean, how much watering is this going to get? I mean, it go in the plant, but I don't think it's going to affect the wood at all. So why don't we? Okay. Got my little rag, got my little spreader over here too. Let's make sure we do this right. I'm going to go into the ends of the cross pieces first and then go into the actual legs themselves. So I'm just going to do that piece first. And then what we have is our first leg all set. Now we have our second one complete. Let's work on our easy and not so cheap version of our plant stand. With our dowel version gluing up and drying right now, what we're going to do is we're going to work on our Festool version, which is with the Domino. So essentially, for those of you who don't know, this is the Domino. What I've done is I've added on this small piece adapter onto the bottom to make it easier to slip in our cross pieces and work on our other pieces to get it centered. I've set the depth at, here, let's pull it over here, at 20 millimeters, because we're going to be using a 6x40 Domino, only one in each leg. I've set the height to 19 millimeters, which is halfway through our piece of lumber here. So this is 1.5 inches, 3/4 of an inch is roughly 19 millimeters. I would prefer to use everything in English units, but the Domino doesn't come in English. Although I do have a little adapter piece in here that'll, for thickness, that I've swapped out. I forget where I bought it from, to do that part in non-metric. But we'll see. So first comes first. Why don't we take all of our legs, which we have right over here, and let's just draw a line 4 inches up, because we want to do the same thing as we did on the other one. Once we get that 4-inch line across, we'll flip it over. Actually, we can do it from the back. And that's going to be the bottom of where our leg is going, our cross piece is going to fit into, kind of like that. And what we're going to do is going to draw a line right down the middle, because what we want is we want that Domino centered right on the middle. And the way the Domino works, there's some hairline guides right there to show you exactly where the Domino is going to go in. So to do that, we're going to have to measure out 3/4 of an inch. I'm sorry, 3/4 of an inch right there. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but essentially we have 4 inches from the bottom, center line. Essentially our piece is going to fit just like this. And that's it. All we need to do now is get our Domino, center it on this line, and then plunge it right in. Okay, so now that we have the line here drawn for where the bottom piece is going to be, the cross piece, and we have exactly where we want the Domino, what we need to do is set up a reference line so that we know where to set up the Domino on here when we actually do the plunge cut. So essentially, from the bottom of the Domino base plate to the center of the mortise is 10 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure up from our bottom line, which is exactly at 102, and I'm going to add 10 millimeters to that and draw another line. So it's going to be right there. So in case you're wondering, that's 112 millimeters for us who 112 millimeters, and 1 7/16 in English. Alright, let's just draw that right across. And that'll be our reference line for to set up the domino. Let's just plunge. So we have the fence tilted up to 90 degrees. We're going to set it at a loose fitting to give us a little wiggle room just in case. We're going to set the base plate onto that line, and we should plunge into this third line up. That's the hope. So let's just slide this up right here. So here are our plunges in. Domino will be going this way. Ultimately, if we're off a little bit from the bottom, as long as they're all the same, all relative to each other, we're good. So that looks good. Let's check it on the piece. That looks to be centered there also. So now we're going to do a similar thing on the cross pieces. So one set we're going to do upside down, and one set we're going to do right side up, just so that we can have interlocking this way. And you know what? Just to mark it, I'm going to go top and bottom, just so we don't make any mistakes. And I'm going to reset up the domino for those particular cuts. Now we're going to cut the cross pieces. So essentially, we have the same lines over here, but we're not going to need it because we've already set the domino up. So it's up 19 millimeters, about 19 millimeters should put us at the center of the board. We've got the guide rails in place. All we need to do is set it up on top and then gently plunge. That's it. That's essentially our domino work here. I'm going to just put in a couple of these dominoes just to test fit everything, just to make sure we're okay. It's actually a very nice fit, as expected with the domino. Okay, that's good. Now, let's do these other ones. So this is going to go, actually I got these backwards, but that shouldn't matter. And that's actually a very nice fit. And the way this is going to fit together itself, whoops, is like this. That's a preview of what we're expecting. Next step, what I'm going to do is light sanding and then glue up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sand down a little bit these other pieces. Just like our other plant stand, what we're going to do is we're going to apply a little of this pre-stained wood conditioner so we don't get any kind of splotches. We're back here now, and the pre-stain has done its job. What we're going to do is we're going to stain it now. I'm going to try using the brush this time, see if that works any better than the rag does. Just for application. And then what we'll do is let that sit for a little while, and then we'll wipe it off. Okay, I think we're okay with the first staining. What I'm going to do now is grab a rag, and we're going to wipe some of that stain off. Because that's the way you do it, otherwise it's going to leave you splotches. And we'll see what that looks like when we're done. If we like it, we'll leave it. If not, we'll add another coat. And it's looking to me like we're going to need another coat. We're back for our second round of staining. and do the same thing, brush, and then wipe it off. The next step in our process is to actually glue the legs together. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in dominoes into the slots, glue them together. One's going to be facing up, one's going to be facing down, this way they'll interlock when we put them together. Just making sure they're aligned nicely. And we're going to take a clamp them together. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing for the second one. So for our final step of our plant stand here, what we're going to do is we're going to use a little of this Watco lacquer, put a quick coat on top, both pieces. Maybe we'll put on a second coat, we'll have to see if we need that. And then we just let it dry and we're essentially done. So these look like they came out pretty nice. And for this safety equipment, we're also going to put on our little respirator here because we don't want to pass out from all the fumes. Here's our squared or domino version of the plant stand. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to spray on some lacquer, give it a coat or two, see how it turns out. If we need more, we'll give it more. All right, stay tuned. This was a fun project, and I learned a few interesting things along the way. For instance, when using a doweling jig, make sure you're careful with your alignment if you want things to go together properly. Secondly, dominoes. Dominoes are great, they're easy, but they're definitely not required for a project like this. Dowels are just good enough. And then finally, it's about stain. I didn't realize that stain actually dried as fast as it does. So next time what I would do is potentially wipe off the stain a little faster to avoid any sort of streaking. Although I think I covered it up with the second and third coat anyway. So that kind of worked out. And there you have it. Beautiful and functional plant stands made out of select pine. Thanks for watching this video on how to make a cheap and easy plant stand for under 10 bucks. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our DIY channel for more DIY woodworking content, tips, and tutorials. And if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment down below. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.